Hey guys, welcome back to What I Want, and welcome to the first official episode. Okay, so today we are talking about social media, and judging by the week that we've had, social media is it's crazy, okay? Crazy. It's literally going crazy, and I don't understand what the hell is going on. Can someone please tell me what the hell is going on? Please, quickly, quickly. So I definitely wanted to make this the first episode because I feel like one, I'm making a podcast, so obviously I want to talk about social media, and two, it's just there's so many things that go along with social media. You can dive so deep, and I know a lot of people look at social media and content creation and all of that and just think of it as really shallow and not deep at all, but it goes pretty deep. I feel like there's a lot to talk about when it comes to social media. So I'm gonna break it down into four things that I think are super important and super interesting to talk about. And I want you to leave them in the comments below. Do you agree? Do you not agree? What do you think? And what do you think is going to be the trajectory of social media platforms in general now that TikTok is doing whatever the hell TikTok wants to do, clearly? And then we have Instagram, YouTube, Facebook, if you use that, and um any other social media platform, or what's going to be the new thing, what's going to blow up in 2025 that you think is just going to be the new it girl. We're always going to have the new it girl. So the first thing that I wanted to talk about was imposter syndrome, and I wanted to make this the first thing to talk about because I suffer from imposter syndrome real bad. Like me and imposter syndrome go together real bad. Okay, real bad. The main thing for me was just not trusting my voice and just not having enough faith in what I was capable of doing and what I was talking about. Like, I just, even though I was well versed in whatever I wanted to talk about, or I was super enthused about what I wanted to talk about, I would still just feel like that I wasn't good enough to talk about these situations, and I just wasn't good enough to tell anyone what to think or how to feel. Like, I just did not feel like I was capable of doing those things. And I also feel like that's a lack in my trust in God, but that is an entirely different episode for an entirely different day. We're going to touch on that too. But I say that to say, if you have something to say, if you have something that's important to you, by all means, say that shit. Say it. Just say it. Because what, who is stopping you besides you from saying the things that you want to say? Who is stopping you from being you? No one but yourself. So just do the things that you want to do what makes you happy, and the people that are supposed to find you and the people that are supposed to be right there in your corner in your community, they're going to be right there, and they're going to stick beside you, and they're going to root you on and gas you up. And even if you have to gas yourself up for a little while, gas yourself up, because that is entirely what I am doing right now. It's just gassing my own self up right now. I don't even know if I'm gassing myself up, but I don't know. I'm just doing it scared. Do it scared. Do it scared. I'm petrified, to be honest with you. Because why? I have no idea. I don't know what I'm afraid of. I don't know if I'm afraid of failure. I don't know if I'm afraid of success. I don't know if I'm just afraid of trolls, or no. Nah, Black gang go crazy. But I don't know. But I do know that you should just do whatever makes you happy, and however that comes across, do that. So, the next thing that I want to talk about is social media platforms in general. So, as we already know, depending on when you guys see this, hopefully you guys see this at the end of the week. So, it is the 27th. No, it is the 25th, either the 25th or the 24th. I'm not entirely sure, but that's when you are supposed to be seeing this. So hopefully you see this then. Um, but yeah, this week has just been chaotic with TikTok going away and then coming back. Now, I'm filming this in the past. Technically, if you're watching this when I release it, I am filming this in the past. So it's January 19th right now, and technically TikTok has gone dark. But I think we're all fully aware that by the time Monday or Tuesday rolls around or passes, in this case, TikTok will be back in action. I have no doubts about that. But um just the craziness that has happened and everything that is just going to happen with social media platforms right now. It's really interesting and it's changing right before our eyes, and it's a little chaotic, but I think what isn't chaotic about social media and about content creation in general, it's a little chaotic because it's still fairly new. I mean, people have been creating content or making this a career, an actual career, for a little over 15 years now, which, that's a decent amount of time, but in work years, that's still very, very new. Like, you think about the auto industry that's been around for 100 years, or you think about businesses that have been around for 100 years. Like, this is still a fairly new thing, and a fairly new industry that people are breaking into, and it's just something new. Now, everyone is going to have their favorites. Now, right now, every TikTok is everyone's favorite, but I'm curious to see how that will change when it comes back. Um I want to know if it's still going to be the same TikTok. Now, I'm going to put on my tin hat. Um and, if you're into conspiracies, if you're not into conspiracies, just enthuse me for a second. But I'm not sure if TikTok will be the same when it comes back. I just don't know. I don't really know if it'll be the same when it comes back. And is it going to be the same TikTok that we all know and love, or is it just going to be another platform that, has been tweaked a little bit, if you catch my drift? My favorite platform has been and always will be YouTube, and I'm not hyping YouTube up right now because I'm on YouTube. I generally and genuinely love YouTube. I've always have. I've been on YouTube for years, and I have started and stopped and started and stopped and started and stopped a channel. And this particular channel, I mean, you could go back and watch some of the videos that I have and see um how many videos I have made. Now, granted, I don't know how long I'm going to keep some of those videos up. I might archive some. I'm being 100% transparent with you guys. I really might archive some of those videos that I have up because they are just so cringy. But sometimes you have to embrace the cringe. I think that's a part of social media in general. It's cringy. I'm spilling my whole entire life on the internet. I don't even talk to people My phone be dry. I don't call anyone. I don't talk to anybody. But yet here I am telling all of my business on the internet. Make that make sense. I think it's because I'm just sitting here talking to a camera, and that is way less intimidating than talking to people who can judge you. Maybe, I don't know. Who knows? Speaking of being vulnerable, that's one of the next things that I want to talk about is boundaries, and how sometimes as content creators, we cannot, oh my God, I'm getting the worst cramp in my foot. Like my foot fell asleep and I'm getting the worst cramp in my foot. I'm sorry, you guys, but this is terrible. Oh my gosh. It almost feels like a horse. It's not a Charlie horse, because if it was a Charlie horse, I would have knocked everything over. Okay, yes. Back to what I was saying. Um so boundaries. So in order to be somewhat successful on any social media platform, you have to be somewhat um transparent and vulnerable, and that's just, I mean, depending on the type of content you create, you don't have to be as vulnerable or transparent or anything like that. But if you do want to create a community and an audience that you want to interact with on a daily basis, there is a certain level of transparency and vulnerability that you just have to put out there. And it's a good thing and it's a really bad thing at the same time, just because, for the simple fact of, you're telling your business. You are in my business. You know everything about, well, not everything about me, but like, I'm telling you very classified information that, like, I would only tell my closest friends. But at the same time, I feel like you're some of my closest friends. And sometimes that tends to backfire, or that could sometimes backfire. Because people might think that you're weird, people might think that you're crazy, you might get canceled for thinking some things or having an opinion. But sometimes you might need to be canceled, and sometimes you might need to be checked. And that's the ebbs and flows of being vulnerable on the internet, because sometimes you can have a really skewed outlook on something, and then you put it out there and people might curse you out, but people also might inform you about having a different outlook or a different viewpoint. And that's the beauty of the internet and putting yourself out there. I feel like that's a beautiful thing. It could sometimes be a very dangerous thing. I'm not going to be naive in the fact that sometimes people try to get on here and spew misinformation, like, all the time, like all the time. But I also think it's a balance. You have to take a lot of things with a grain of salt on the internet, like a huge, not even a grain of salt, like a handful of salt, out of 100%, out of 100% of things that you ingest on the internet, you could probably believe maybe like 75%. And that's me being very generous. 75% is extremely generous. So the question I have is, how do we balance this? How do you show up and get your point across by being vulnerable and talking to people and telling your story and just showing people that it's possible to do certain things or be certain things and overcome and be relatable without, what's the word that I want to say, jeopardizing yourself, or just putting yourself in harm's way, or just opening yourself up for unnecessary criticism or critique, or people just looking at you for a novelty, and that's another thing. Um, that's I know a lot of people are going to say, well, that comes with the job, and it does kind of come with the job, but eh, like, yes, you're opening yourself up to the world of public opinion. So you are opening yourself up to a lot of critique. And once you get to a certain status, once you get to that Nicole Guerrero, that Carly Bible, that Jackie Ina, that Patricia Bright, like once you get to those types of level of content creation, and once you get to those levels of influencing and just star, like you start to teeter the line between influencer content creation and you're actually famous. Like people know who you are. Like Alex Earl or Emma Emma Chamberlain. Like those are all people, Mr. Beast. Like those are household names. But there is a kind of catch 22 where you kind of become a novelty and people stop looking at you like you're a human being, and you lose your humanness in a sense. I don't know, is that a word? Humanness? I don't know. But you kind of just, people just stop seeing them as people with everyday lives, and they have family, they have friends, they have children, they have parents, they have, I don't know, pets, you know, and they deal with everyday things just like we do. I think we tend to forget because we use those people as escapes, and we just don't recognize them as everyday people, people that we see every day, people that we see at work. But those are those same people. They just, they're just a little bit more further than you are, or farther away from you than you might be, but not really. I don't know if that makes any sense. But I feel like it just, when you become that novelty, it adds a lot of pressure. And you have this pressure to be perfect. You have this pressure to know everything, to say everything the right way, not the wrong way. Just say everything the right way, and to be the best version of yourself at all times. You're always on. You have the answers for everything. The very last thing that I want to touch on is gatekeeping, because quiet as it's kept, real quiet as it's kept, content creators, you might not like this. This is going to be a real unpopular opinion, but y'all are some gatekeepers. Gatekeepers. Stop gatekeeping. I'm talking to you. And I'm not, and this is going to be very, very niche. This isn't about gatekeeping to your audience. This isn't about gatekeeping to like brands or anything like that. This is, I'm talking about content creators and influencers gatekeeping to other content creators and influencers. And I know a lot of people are going to say, no, we don't. Yes, we do. I want to say that there are a lot of influencers that offer up a lot of information and extremely helpful, and there's a ton of like influencers and content creators that are just like, here, this is what I do, these are the brands that I reached out to, this is the management that I reached out to, this is that, um this is who I would reach out to, this is who I will probably stay away from. There are a lot of content creators that do that, but there's also a lot of content creators that will zip it. They do not say a word. And that's their right. They don't have to say anything. They don't have to tell you anything. They don't owe you anything, especially since everyone has their own journey, and what might have worked for them may not work for you. So in that aspect, I do get it. But sometimes if you ask someone a question and they kind of ignore the question or just don't tell you at all, you're weird. You're weird. There's enough room for everybody. Let me tell you, there is enough room for everybody in this industry, and I think everyone knows that. Everyone wants to be that influencer. Everyone wants to be that content creator, and especially when you first get started, you want to climb your way to the top. And I think everyone's a little bit more helpful when you are starting out because everyone is just trying to get to the same place. But I think the more well known you become, or the more established you become, you start to become a little bit more closed off. Rightfully so. You start to get a little, just a tiny bit jaded, I feel like, because you know the ins and outs. You've been kind of like screwed over by that brand that doesn't want to pay people. You've had to go through a few different management teams because they're just not what they said they were on paper. And I get it. I get that 100%. I'm just saying you don't have to, you can just mention, hey, I went here, or hey, I did this, and I don't know if it's going to work for you, but this is just personally what worked for me. Or, hey, if I have a question about something, hey, oh, I worked with that brand before, didn't like them. They did not like pay me fairly, or they just did not pay me in enough time. But your experience might be different, but I'm just fair warning you that this is what happens. And there's a lot of people out here that do that. I'm just speaking from what I see personally. And honestly, I mean, I could be completely wrong. I could make a video a year from now and say, hey, what I said was completely jacked up. I don't know what I was talking about because I was hanging outside from the club and I could not get in at the time. So who knows what my thought process would be later on. But right now, that's just how I see it and what I think. So those were the few things that I wanted to touch on as far as content creation with social media. And I just want to know what you guys think and how you feel about social media. How do you feel about content creation in general? How do you feel about content creators and influencers in general? I want to know because I know there's a lot of people that dislike them or have a really screwed like idea of influencers and content creators. A lot of people think that they just are lazy and they sit around and do nothing when that can't be further from the truth. We work really, really hard. We're a one woman show, one man show, doesn't matter. You don't really get the team until way, way, way further into your career. And that's also if you trust that team, there has to be a lot of trust there. And yeah, I'm really curious to see what you guys think. But if you like this video, feel free to comment. If you didn't like the video, leave a comment. Honestly. So I'll see you next time, guys. And remember to always get what you want. Peace.